Louis Scott.
An incarcerated individual at the Folsom State Prison, Folsom, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Well, everybody, here we are with a fabulous day from Folsom. Today is a rainy day, and on these rainy days, it evokes a lot of emotions from us that's in here, right? We miss loved ones, but we also think about the saddest moments, and the harshest times that we've had in here. And what I'm referring to basically is like the SHU, the Segregated Housing Unit. I want to introduce somebody that spent almost 25 years in the SHU. And Billy, come on in, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Billy. A lot of people knows me as Pappy. I'm from West LA, from the Lennox area. Thank you. Good to be here.
Man, tell me, how did you land up in the SHU for 25 years?
Well, it was probably around 1993, 92, as a young 8-year-old kid coming from, Southern California, being introduced to, to a life sentence at 32 years to life, ended up in reception center where, as a young kid, I had 2 chips on my shoulders and, I ended up catching a few assault cases and ended up in the SHU where I landed an indeterminate term. They were on a validation.
Explain that determinate term so everybody knows what that means.
Well, the indeterminate term is a definite term that one gives to an individual that they want to, validate them and categorize them and label them as a certain type of, security threat group.
Okay.
And with that, comes a validation, and which, in turn results into an indefinite SHU term. So an indefinite term is where you don't have an out date. You're definitely in solitary confinement until you parole, you die, or you PCL, which now is you debrief and go to a non-designated yard or nationwide yard, which was never an option.
Okay. So with that being said, right, it's like 18 years old, you're back in the SHU with an indeterminate term, right? It's like, what were some of your harshest moments back there? Let me start with this. What was your tutorial? Who gave you your tutorial on how to act back there and how to program?
Just, I had individuals, growing up that told me within the system, the best way, which is, became a life lesson for me is, don't worry about what somebody tells you. Listen and learn and watch. Watching it give you the lessons you need to survive prison, especially in a solitary, type confinement. As hard as it is, being segregated, you have to find your own outlets to keep your sanity.
What was some of the harshest moments you had to endure in the SHU?
Not being able to communicate with my family other than letters, without having a pen and a piece of paper, which was your lifeline, to the outworld. We were stuck in a small cell, windowless, didn't have no windows. Went to the yard, had no windows. We were in a little concrete, small dog kennel yard with the top covering, covering the yard, which, you get a partial sunlight, partial rain, so the hardest part will be is just, being away from society itself, let alone my family.
When you're back there in the SHU, you began to communicate with other people. As we know, there's a segregation line in prison.
Right, cool.
Right? And they're always talking about, oh, you can't mingle with these people, you can't mingle with these people. But the one commonality everybody back there has is you're all in the SHU. How does that work back there?
Well, being back there for so many years, you know, regardless of what nationality you are, regardless of the segregation that we hold, especially back there, you know, is you learn to develop friendships outside of your own, race, outside of your own, your affections, and then, you're in a segregated system or settings that there's only 8 cells. You got 4 on the bottom and 4 on top. So you're in these cells for decades along other individuals that are considered, your opposition. So you tend to develop friendships with them, and through these friendships, the thing is when you're in that type of setting, when somebody gets a package, somebody gets stored, somebody doesn't go, regardless of who you are, your ethnicity, we still share with everybody. But when those doors open, we all understood the politics of prison, and it's no secret. But throughout the decades of being back there, long-term friendships and unity started to grow amongst the validation segregated population to where the point it led up to a hunger strike where we had a ceasefire. Everybody came together as a unit. And then once that took place, then that's when change started coming with that type of virus.
What were those changes? What did those changes look like?
Those changes were beautiful because, you've never seen, so many ethnicities, so many, races coming together for a same purpose, for ultimate goal, and that was to gain notoriety on the injustice that we were receiving back there in the SHU. And man, we did a beautiful thing. Everybody came together as a unit, and when we did that, we became more powerful.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Let me ask you this. That was the most beautiful moment, being back in the SHU. What was the worst moment, being back in the SHU?
Being told I was going to, and believing that I was going to die back there. Once you're back there and believing there was no hope, either you die, parole, or you degree. Neither one was an option for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So either I accepted the fact that I was going to die back there, and I was 18 years old. It's really all I knew. I mean, it's all I knew. It's being back here in the United States.
In comparison, how old are you now?
I'm 52 years old. And in comparison, man, if what I knew now back then I would have known there was a lot of hope. Because not only did we go on this hunger strike, which we had over 33,000 prisoners just in California alone participated in and out of segregation. We had thousands more across the United States that even participated, which gave us the attention we needed to reach a settlement on the SHU case. That which eventually in 2015 got everybody in the SHU that's been back there for decades kicked out of the SHU. And so, just if I would have known that there was more hope, especially with the events that took place, man, it changed my mind into never believing or giving up that just the situation that I'm in, that I'm gonna be stuck in, And so once we eventually did reach a settlement on the SHU case, which got us all kicked out of the SHU, then I had an opportunity to challenge my case. Which eventually on the SB 1437, which even led me to, getting it granted and me going home after 30 years.
After 30 years, you went home.
Yes, and that's after doing 25 in the SHU. I did the rest in the main line, fighting this case, and then I got granted, and I had my murder vacated. I was resentenced and went home.
I'm going to ask you this question, which a lot of people are probably thinking right now, right? What the hell are you thinking coming back to prison after going through that craziness back there in the SHU?
Yeah, I tell myself that sometimes, like, and I think what it is just craziness. There shouldn't be no reason why I came back. I just got caught up in the fucking the glam and lights of the neighborhoods we come from. And I went out there, and I guess I got that fucking 18-year-old mentality still stuck in there. And so in reality, this was a good wake-up call for me. It was a good reset button for me to have the opportunity to go home, be blessed, and then come back. I have a lot of people disappointed, especially myself, but it was something that's needed for me to come back, have a reset button, so I could see it's like, man, is this what you fucking want for the, I don't have that much, years to be given back to a system that's just been taken from me all my life. So to answer your question, I wasn't. I was just I was being reckless.
I'll say this, man. It's like we all make impaired decisions, right?
Yes.
And your experience is not my experience. And I'm not one to judge, because before this term, I was in and out of prison myself.
Right.
And I think sometimes it takes that reality check. Unfortunately, you're going home in a short time.
Yes.
With that being said, it's like I'm hopeful that this was your reality check and you don't come back. But I'm also thankful that you're one of the people around here that share with these young cats what they need to know about being out of pocket and what can happen to them.
Right.
Because these people don't play when it comes to the SHU, as you know.
Right.
And experience trumps anything else in this environment. And you have to experience most can only talk about.
And it does, and a lot of these young cats don't realize how easy they have it today than they did just 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you got, a lot of people with good intentions but wrong methods, and I believe that, and I'm no different because I allow myself to get caught up in it as well, so.
Well, here's the thing. You're going back out there.
Well, I'm
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Okay, don't get me wrong. I might have got caught up, but I was actually doing a lot of good. I was a gang interventionist out there where I brought community members together. So, we all might be labeled, improperly as gang members, but we're community members. I used to bring so many different neighborhoods together, peacefully. And that's what I'm going back to, because I do a lot of community work. And I give back to communities I took from for so many years as a child.
And you know what, man? On that note, I'm going to just say I'm proud of you. Yeah. Because a lot of people get out of prison and all they think about is how can I improve my circumstances.
Of course.
To give back to the community, it sounds like being 18 coming into the SHU, you learned what community was when you were back there. And going back into society with the mindset of building community, I think that says things about you in volume. That screams volumes about you as an individual.
Right.
And I just want to say thank you.
And thank you for having me, and thank you for sharing this little story. Hopefully it could touch somebody, or somebody could learn from my mistakes.
One more question. I just thought of this. When you was in the SHU that long, right, what was it like coming back to the main line?
I was a kid in a candy store. It was real weird to have too many people like around me, but it was funny because you could see everybody that got out of the SHU that's been there for decades because they're walking around the yards with their hand behind their backs.
That's a sure tell sign.
Yeah. So
you have 60 seconds remaining.
It was a beautiful thing. I felt like I paroled. I felt like I paroled.
Again, thank you, brother. I appreciate you, and it's a privilege.
And likewise, it's a blessing, and we'll see you home soon as well.
Thank you, brother.
All right.